Nothing tastes like a Texas summer quite like a big juicy slice of watermelon, and it's farmers like Scott Baining's job to grow them. Whether you prefer seeded or seedless, he's got you covered. This fourth-generation farmer plants both on about 200 acres southeast of San Antonio.
You have to plant the seeded watermelons to pollinate the seedless. Otherwise, if you just plant seedless watermelons in a field, you won't get any watermelons.
Scott farms with his brother and dad near Floresville. They mainly run a dairy and grow grains like corn and wheat, but low grain prices about a decade ago caused them to branch out and look for new crops. Watermelons seemed ripe for the picking. Now 10 years later, they are helping supply the major supermarkets in the state with this succulent red fruit.
We plant somewhere around the end of March, 1st of April, just depending on the year. If like this year it was a little bit colder, we were into April 9th, April 10th, something like that, a little bit later than we really want to be.
The Bainings grow 3 of the hundreds of watermelon varieties, most of which are seedless. Harvest normally starts around the 20th of June, and the goal is to get as much harvested by July 4th as possible. And there's really only one way to do it: by hand.
It's very labor intensive. Everything from the time that melon leaves the vine all the way till it gets on that truck, it's all hand done. There's no machinery to actually get it there. Those melons are touched about 2 or 3 times to get them on the truck.
One of the biggest challenges to growing any kind of produce is finding folks to help harvest. It's something farmers like Scott want lawmakers to keep in mind when making decisions about immigration reform. If there's no one to pick the fruit, it will be grown somewhere besides the U.S.
We don't actually market them. The guy that brokers our melons, he takes care of the crews to get them up here. But I mean, we know what he's up against trying to get the labor here to do, and when they're ready, they're ready. There's no waiting on them.
Once the produce is out of the field, they are cleaned, thumped, and sorted into 2 categories. Most of the time, the only real difference is what's on the outside.
The number ones end up in most of your supermarket chains, your Walmarts, H-E-B's, Kroger's, all those. Number 2s they can still end up maybe in a small mom and pop operation on the side of the road. Still very good melons, but they just might, for some reason, they may not fit in the box. They may be a little bit sunburned. They may be a little bit overripe.
Texas ranks number 3 in watermelons grown in the U.S. Farmers in over 100 counties grow more than 42,000 acres. One reason watermelons are so refreshing is they are 92% water, making them perfect for those summer picnics. And as far as what to look for when you give them that all-telling thump,
there's a certain sound. If they're overripe, it'll be like a dead sound. And if they're just right, it's more of like a drum. When you thump it, if it doesn't really kind of bounce back at you, it's probably an overripe melon.
For TFB News, Ed Wolf, Floresville.